You're tuned in to RX Radio.
I was doing stuff with MD, like a lot of filming with MD for different videos and stuff. So they invited me to Diamond Gym in New Jersey.
Right, sick gym.
To do like muscle camp where they have like stations for each pros at a station, and people walk around. You kind of like tell them whatever in like 15 minutes, and they rotate to the next station. So I met Robbie Duran from MD, who was like always supporting me. He introduced me to Eric Schwartz. Who was with Animal.
Yeah, homie.
And he was like, yeah, he's like, I think Mike could be a good fit for you, blah, blah. And so I went to Animal's headquarters and I met with them and told them about me. And then they invited me to the Arnold that year. I wasn't on contract yet. They just like come and hang out and see like what you, like how you do with everybody. And then after that, they offered me like a massive contract of $400 a month.
Yo.
Yeah, huge bodybuilding.
Life changing.
It made it.
Yeah, quit your job.
Yeah. Well, that was a time where like contracts, I mean, obviously like the high end of contracts now are insane. At a certain point, like bodybuilding.
I don't even know what they are now. Like I know that guys in this gym are like high up there when it comes to like being in the top of the food chain in bodybuilding, but like I would never ask them.
a month.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That's
At that
insane.
point with like the markets, like with the supplement companies, like you should probably
What are like, I wonder what the requirements are. Cause like I was getting that from Animal and they were asking me to fucking post on the forum 3 times a day.
Yeah. You were
Like,
getting
I was like,
hosed, brother.
Jeez.
Oh, and that's why I was like, this doesn't make sense, man. Like I was getting $400 US and then I was getting literally $400 in supplements at retail price,
Right.
not at wholesale.
That's amazing.
Retail.
And so I had like 3 supplements from them.
You got
Yeah.
two-
I got
two
like an
tins of
animal
protein.
pack and a fucking protein thing.
Sell it out of your back of your car.
And so I was
try to get
like,
the
I was
goals
just going
further.
along with it because I was like so honored to be a part of that brand, right? I was like, I'm sure like if I keep going, things will pick up. Like, plus I had money, I was working, so it wasn't like I was just depending on that.
Right.
So, but the longer I was there, it was just like, man, this isn't getting any better. It was like, this is fun as shit because all these people are cool as hell. And like watching guys like in the cage, like I think I talked to you about it,
Yeah.
like fucking Sam Bird and like Richard Hawthorne and like all the other guys, Al Fortney, he's passed away now, but like these guys were like fucking like legitimate animals. Like there's a reason why you were with the company, right? And I'm there like, I can't do any of that. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like,
But if anyone were to pass up in the street, they'd be like, that guy deadlifts 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, people look at you in the grocery store and be like, that guy benches 600 pounds.
I literally was like the worst. Deadlifting was like, I would dread it if I had to do it.
Yeah.
I think the most I've ever pulled is like 6 plates. And I fucking hated every second of it. Like I just couldn't wait for it to be over. And I don't even know why. Like, I don't know why I was doing it because I was just so bad at it.
Yeah.
But I was like in my head, deadlift from my back. Like, and I'm like,
Thickness, bro.
I was like, just like, fuck this though. Like, I suck at this so bad. Like, and every time I do it, something would twinge because I didn't do it enough to be good at it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I just did it to do it.
And probably by that point, you're so strong in each individual muscle group that the margin for error is probably so small.
Yeah.
Because like most people who aren't skilled at deadlifting can't put it all together. Like the sum of their parts isn't strong enough to move anything potentially dangerous. But you got fucking hamstrings and quads and lats and arms that could just, if you put a gun to your head, like, yeah, we could sort this out. And then like the supporting structure and the technique is like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah. I never developed like a good background in it either because like I played football growing up and we never did deadlifts. Like, I don't know if they do that now because I'm far removed from that world, but like in my college coaches who literally knew nothing, like God bless their hearts, they were great guys, but like looking back on what you guys did, like I knew more than them back then.
Right.
Like I went down to Rhode Island where I played football and I had learned from my guy here who I worked out with to squat like ass to grass. Like I had no problem with full range, like 4 or 5 plates, like up and down, right? I was never like, and I get there and they're like, whoa. Like you're going to blow your knees out. And I'm like, what?
Jesus.
And they're like, no, just halfway.
Come on.
Or break parallel and then come up. I'm like, what? I'm like, that's it? And so I'm like going down, but I'm like, of course, like I'm used to this full range. So I'm blunting that halfway and I'm like, going up and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't understand. And they're like, no, Mike, you're going to blow your knees out doing that. I'm like,
Jesus Christ.
All right, guys. And
How have you dealt with like the shift in information? Like across the board, like with like YouTube and social media and all that, like everyone can have a voice now, which is probably not for the better.
no, that's why I was talking about this the other day with somebody. It's just like how everybody, like, it used to mean something to like be known for something, because you had to have done something to be known for it. So you had to like have worked through this path and like achieve this level of success or notoriety, and then people started to know about you. It's like literally I can turn my camera on now and I can pretend like someone cares.
Right.
And if I get enough people to care, then everyone cares, right? But I'm not saying shit, and I'm just regurgitating shit I've heard from other people.
Yeah.
So it's like if I listen to you guys sit here and have like an in-depth discussion about like deadlifting and how it transfers over to like sports or whatever it might be, some in-depth discussion, and then I just regurgitate it. I'm like, oh yeah, they said that when you do this, it transfers over to that, and like da-da-da. But they don't know what they're talking about. You guys know what you're speaking about.
I think that's
So it's like, it's like that's what's going on in this world. It's just like, that's what gets me. Like I'm all for people having a voice and like contributing to what's going on and feeling like they're a part of something. I think it's like really important that like there is a fitness community and people who care and like-minded, but it's just like the fact that you're like riding the coattails of people and then just taking like Jordan's idea and I just turned it on a bit and I made it mine. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're unoriginal and you're fucking lame.
Yeah.
It's like come up with something else, right?
It's funny when we did
or at least give credit.
Sure.
Like say like I learned this from Jordan or I learned this from Killian. Like they did it this way, and then I thought, why don't I try this way? And then that person will turn around and be like, yeah, I never thought of it. That's fucking awesome, right? And then we build together. So it's not like this pitting people against each other shit. I fucking hate it, and that's why like I addressed this nonsense that someone was trying to create between you and I,
which I still haven't. I don't know about any of it.
No, but it's just like these stupid comments or these stupid fucking whatevers, and I'm just like, guys, like, what are you? Like, who are you talking to, first of all? Like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And you're comparing two guys that are in two different spaces. Like, yes, we both lift weights and yes, we both do this, but it's like, he's over here doing this and I'm over here doing this, and like things cross over and they mix and match, but like, it's a completely different world, right? Like, people don't get that bodybuilding it's like another planet.
Oh, is it ever?
Compared to like powerlifting, sports specific training, like Olympic lifting. It's nowhere near these people. Yeah. You guys are doing your own thing, and it's completely different and fucking so difficult. Whereas over here, it's just like, I want to get pumped. I want to fucking get as big as I can. Yeah. I want to engorge my muscles and get fucking blown out and be on lots of juice and like look like a cartoon character. Right. Which has very little to do with being like athletic. I
want to find the comments. Yeah. Because I've never like, people like messaged me after we did our training video, which was my favorite training video I've ever done, because I said like 4 words the entire time. And it I think 3 of them had to do with your shoes. Yeah. And it was just like, Alora was literally, as we were filming, Alora was like, oh, well, we got the 2 guys who hate doing this the most. Like, hate this camera shit.
The only reason why I like doing it with Alora is because I like Alora. It's like, literally, if anyone else filmed me, I'd be like, this is fucking torture.
It's funny, we had this exact conversation yesterday, and I was talking to Alora. I was like, not that I've never respected what she does, but having worked with other people, I'm like, I really like when you're there, because I forget that you're there.
Yeah, I never remember that she's filming.
Yeah, and it's great. And then you work with other people and they're literally on top of the machine. I'm like, thanks, man. I'm only going to do 7 plates on this, and you're going to stand in my way.
I thought my knee was going to hit Eddie's camera the other day. I was like,
he was like, I moved him the other day. He was like in the middle of the leg workout, and I literally moved him. Like, what are you doing, man? Like,
I'm going to move him into the parking lot.
He's like, oh, I'm in there. And like,
well, it's funny because he's like the cameraman, and like, shout out Eddie.
No,
different style. But he's like the cameraman for the fuck boys. Like the fuckboy generation. Like, and this gym is still pretty good because like I think culture starts from the top. So like Dorian's back in the mix and like doing a show, and we got like some OGs who were doing it before the word fuckboy even existed, because it didn't have to. Yeah. Like we need the word fuckboy so badly, and we didn't know we did until we started seeing these kids running around the gym. It's like, oh, that's a fuckboy. Got it. Yeah. And he's like the cameraman for the fuckboys. So like the idea that I need to be panned right in on your fucking kneecap or some bullshit.
My favorite memory is like the first time I saw Eddie in this gym, he was like, I won't say who he was filming because there's no point, but this girl was doing like deadlifts, like stiff leg deadlifts, right? And he was like literally like, he was moving away from the camera. I'm like, man, why don't you just put it inside and get a fucking...
Eddie is also a gynecologist. We didn't realize that. He was right up the cornhole.
His other career path.
Yeah, and I think it's just like the skin in the game, right? Like both those conversations are the same. Like we all get along and respect what we do, and we like when Alora films us because Alora has skin in the game. Yeah. She's one of the strongest women ever. Yeah. So she gets it when you work out to just fucking leave you alone. And then you get like guys who work with dudes who have no skin in the game because they just blast whatever and make YouTube videos. And it's like, well, that's why that culture moves the way that culture moves.
Yeah. It's like birds of a feather.
Yeah.
It's so just the contrast in styles of like media and just training with you, but at the end of the day, it's like we both just did a lot of work. That was like the one thing that's missing from. Settle a bet for us real quick. What's worse, people who comment on YouTube videos or people who comment on porn videos?
People comment on porn videos,
buddy. It's a fucking Lundy.
What do they say?
No, yeah.
What do they say?
We're not going to.
I don't like a stroke.
We're gonna pull up some porn.
Slow it down, man.
We're not there yet.
Stop embarrassing us.
I feel like porn comments are always way more constructive than YouTube comments. Because like YouTube comments are just like cuck and that's it. Whereas like a porn comment will usually give a little bit of advice. Like they could have turned the music off for this video, or bad camera angle, try from the side.
But when they timestamp it, that's my favorite. At 7:18, you know, I would have came from the old over the top.
I've actually never
shot.
seen these comments. Now I'm gonna look.
That's gonna be great. You're gonna be watching porn and thinking of me and kill you.
That's
So like, what's been the biggest change for you in like adopting social media as just like a part of like an inevitable part of this? Like you're either in or you're out. Are you still do you still fight a battle with it?
No, I mean it's not as bad because I do it on my terms. So like I never film myself, and I don't take selfies, and I don't like self promote myself. Like the idea of looking at my phone in a room by myself and be like, hey guys, well, like I mean like it's fucking odd to me, man. Yeah. Like unless you're really like you have a like, oh, I'm gonna be here today, like show up, or like advertising something. There's no other way to get it out. Yeah. But it's like I just told myself like when I do stories or whatever, because I understand that that's apparently what people like the most. So it's like I would just repost people talking about me or like something I was involved in or a workout I did, right? So it's like I just got around it that way, so that I was never like, and I don't have anything of my personal life on there. Like there's not one bit.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on that over the years because you have 2 accounts.
I have 2 accounts.
And we're not going to out your personal account.
No, people try and add it all the time though. Like I'm gonna fucking hit accept.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Oh, so it's really your personal account's private?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that I made it past the velvet rope there.
Yeah. I just love leaving people pending though. Like all these people find it and then they ask me to friend them, and I just leave them there. I don't even decline. I just let it sit.
Just like leaving a message seen.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's the ultimate fuck you of 2021. It's just seen. I'm not responding to this.
But I think that's the big thing is like with this change in how things are, even from like the point of view of what we all care about, which is training and working hard, the thing that people don't understand how to do is when to turn it off. Like how many people do a set for Instagram or lift a weight they shouldn't lift for Instagram, or post some bullshit thing they probably don't have the scope of practice to talk about because Instagram exists. Like where we all came from doing this before it existed. So it's like, well, I just do this because I do this every day.
It's so foreign to me. I would never in my life, like even to this day, put my phone down and film my set.
Yeah.
Like if Laura's there, whatever. Someone's just, she's there, fly on the wall, watching what we're doing. Like I don't, but like the thought of like put this down, like,
and it
look
falls
for the
over.
angle and like, oh fuck,
when it falls over.
Yeah,
it's my favorite
but it's like
thing
you
ever.
look like a fucking lunatic when you have like you're in the gym and you got a tripod over here.
Oh yeah,
and you're like looking back like, and you're like doing the fucking. And it's like a lot of the time it's girls and they're just doing like, it's like you're not revolutionizing fitness. Like it's a fucking stiff leg deadlift you're doing.
Right.
How many times can you film it?
Yeah, it's always a stiff leg deadlift. By the way, the only thing
girls
that ever is.
the girls don't train fucking anything but their glutes anymore. It's like, do you guys understand that if you want nice legs, let's say, just training your glute is probably the weirdest thing you can do because you're going to have the most misshapen body.
You're going to look like a pigeon wearing a diaper.
Like it's like
that's not a good look.
You understand, like the projection of your quad off your leg from the side would give you a rounder looking butt in the sense that it's creating dimension, right? Where it's like, I just want it to be like flat and then go like this.
You spent a lot of time in Miami though, right?
Yeah.
You're very familiar with the fake ass scene.
Yeah, it's fucked. It's
well,
so
also
fucked.
too, I think all of us have always had other means of securing income. I think that's a big thing. Like when I was 20, the idea of making money on the internet as a means of feeding myself was not a thing. Like you could get a contract, and I knew it was going to be whatever $400 a month or whatever the fuck. But it's like, well, that's great. That's my food for 4 days.
That was kind of like my thinking too. Like when I stopped, because I could have kept going. Like after I tore my pec, like because I came back and I wasn't fine, but I was good enough. Like I mean, I felt good and I could keep competing. But then it was just like in my head, I'm like, I was like tallying in my head the amounts of money that I've spent doing this. Right. And like literally to win the year I did my pro card, I calculated in my head that it was anywhere between 15 and 20 grand I spent on drugs. That includes GH, so that's astronomical because I'm not going to buy some shit Chinese fucking
blue
whatever
top,
the fuck it is, right?
Trunk
From
sale.
some guy's fucking trunk.
BOGO.
So it's just like and then I went to the nationals and I won, and it's like I got a fucking trophy. And it's cool, like I understand it, but like it's different. Like if you're if you're in the NFL and you get drafted.
Yes.
I'm a pro football player now. I'm getting a signing bonus. I got drafted. I'm getting a signing bonus, and I'm on a guaranteed contract.
Yeah.
So I know I'm set. I'm good. Here, like in bodybuilding and these sports, it's like people are bragging about becoming a pro. It's like, what the fuck changed in your life? You got to put
Instagram.
you got to put the 4 letters on your, or some people's cases, put it on their car.
Some people's cases put it on their arm.
Okay, they're not going to watch this. It's fine because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Fucking like, what the fuck?
Yeah, before the taint is even dry on that, they're already got it in the Instagram. What is the actual? Is it a sweepstake card? Is it like a debit card?
Do you
What
get
is
a
the
physical
pro-
card?
You get a just like literally a
Library
cardboard card with like your name put on it, like they typed it on or something, and then
Nice.
it has like the president's name and whatever, and your membership day. So it's good for a year.
Oh,
What?
You have to renew it every year, so you have to pay to be a pro.
how it
I
works.
love this business model. You spend money, you compete. We give you paper card. You pay to keep being what you are.
So you can like take a picture of it on Instagram and be like,
yeah.
It's like if Bernie.
And it
Madoff
used to
goes
mean
into-
something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It
Well,
used
'cause
to
they
fucking
hand out how many a year?
Yeah, it used to mean something like even back when I was competing, which wasn't like super long ago, but like prior to that, even it was like if you were a pro, it's a fucking big deal, man. Right. So yeah, back then it's like, yeah, man, I want to let people know, but like at the fucking show here in like however many weeks, they're giving out like 20 pro cards or 15 pro cards. Like, what the fuck? Are you giving one to everyone who shows up?
Can I get one in the parking lot?
Yeah, it's just like, how much is it for a bootleg one?
How much of it do you think has that tide sort of shifted with the introduction of like men's physique category? I really feel like men's physique opened up the floodgates for what it meant to be a pro bodybuilder, and then all of like, there's a wellness. I can't keep up with the female side at all. It was like, did Iris Kyle win last year? Great. It's like that was as much as I looked into it. Now there's like wellness, physique, figure, bikini on that side, and then there's classic, men's open, 212, and physique.
Yeah.
How much of this, like, pro card not meaning anything is coming off of the backs of like the men's physique introduction?
I'm all for people like getting in where they fit in type thing. Like if you don't want to be, or you don't have the ability to be like this mass monster, like big Rami looking, you know what I mean? Like a Regan looking guy, you just don't have the genetics for that and you want to compete, but it's like, just be specific as to what you are.
Right.
Yeah.
You're a men's physique pro or you're a classic pro. Don't say like I'm an IFBB pro.
Right.
You like specify what you are. Cause like that upper echelon of like top bodybuilders, like that is a far greater reach for people than someone like a classic pro.
Right.
100%.
Because classic pro is like literally comes down to your genetic. Do you have pretty genetics? Do you have a tiny waist, big shoulders, like billowing clouds, but you're just not a monster?
Right.
But you could be if you applied yourself.
You sound like my high school guidance counselor.
No, like honestly though, you're just like I'm limiting myself to fit into a category.
Yeah.
So it's like so that I have status, right? Like Chris Bumstead or like these other guys, and like if Chris Bumstead was like, I want to be an open guy, he'd smash people.
You think?
He would smash people.
He's had a crazy year.
In his off season, like he looks like he could move
He's
up.
fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, and that's someone that's pulling the reins back on a physique. Like he's like, okay, like, oh, I can't get, you know what I mean? But if you just let go, what's going to change about that waist? And what's going to change about anything else is the proportions are going to blow out. Like, you may not get to like 300 pounds, but like that guy at like 250 on stage looks like 280.
Yeah.
And he's just fucking tiny waist and posing like an animal, right?
It's the same thing with the 212. Like I've seen Lunsford the last handful of off seasons, or like even Flex in his heyday was just like he can't get, he's got to drop it down to almost nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can't go at a striking distance of that weight category. It's like I wonder what Flex
Something
gonna look like.
Lunsford, like is he doing 212 again this year?
I think so, yeah.
It's like why,
dude?
What do you look at you, man?
If he let go,
Just dry the fuck out at that size and show people what bodybuilding is.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much potential left on the table because that push to the scale at the end, rather than a push for like a look, is like, hey, look, we just got to make weight. And then you have this 24-hour, like, you know, you're wet, you're dry, the Lasix, thiazide, all this fucking crazy shit to try and like peak, eat a bunch of 1,000 grams of carbs and fucking however many.
I always thought like 212 in my mind when they first announced it would be like guys who would like literally be on the cusp. Like they would be fighting to get to 212.
Right.
To make the 212 show, or they'd be like at like 220 and have to drop down a bit just to hit. But like guys who are like coming down from like 250, like, and you're solid like that, like why? Just stay in the fucking open.
Which
like,
I think now they're sending a message with Clarita.
Yeah,
you know, you got Clarita coming in 176 pounds soaking wet.
Just insane though.
Yeah,
that
but I think it's like
insane.
That's telling everyone else like, hey, get out of here.
Yeah,
like if you're coming in ruining your physique to try and make this, we're gonna give it to the guy who's just bringing it from like an aesthetic standpoint. So it's not a mass competition.
And that's the thing too, is if you look back in the 90s and things like when I was growing up, like Lee Priest was kicking people's asses that were fucking monsters compared to him, because he had the shape, he had the density, he had like the development. Like it didn't matter he was this big. Like he's standing on stage next to like Paul Dillette.
Yeah.
And beating Paul.
Do you remember the year he froze up in the
just
Arnold,
gonna say,
91? When he froze up like a cardboard cutout?
Did he?
He was so blasted on diuretics.
He
hit like a back double bicep and like quarter turn to the right, Paul. And Paul didn't move. And everyone was like, he like couldn't even fucking blink. And like, what the hell?
I used to
literally had to carry him off stage
sideways.
like this.
I love how freaky Paul was back in the day though.
Dude,
Like,
have you
to see
seen the
that dude.
WBFF though?
Yeah. When I first moved back to
Concerning.
Toronto, I was in Yorkdale Mall. This is like WBSF's first year.
Okay.
So I was like 300 pounds, like off season. I was with one of my ex-girlfriends. And I was just like walking around some store, and like I was like scanning around. I look over and I just see Paul Dillette like over one of the racks. He's like, and I'm like,
flat
I'm
top?
like, what the fuck? No, he was like he is now. Like he's tall and skinny and lanky, right? And I'm like, and he's just like, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, and I said to my girl at the time, I think that's Paul Dillette, this bodybuilder. She's like, what? I was like, well, he keeps staring at you. He's still staring at you. And I'm like, so finally he walks over. He's like, hey, what do you compete in? I'm like, bodybuilding. He's like, oh man, you should come to my, you should be in my organization. I'm like, what is it? Like, and he started telling me about it, and I'm like, it started like growing after that. And I was just like, imagine doing this though.
Imagine I had a client who did WBF female, which is like a little bit more.
Their females are badass though.
Yeah.
Like if there's anything that's a blessing about that organization is like the level of female talent in that fucking organization is crazy, man.
It's essentially like a more muscular Victoria's Secret fashion show.
Some of those girls are wild. Like their physiques are
so
crazy.
conditioned.
And they keep the reins on it, so like the drugs will never get out of control. Like they're looking for models essentially. Like it's fitness and fashion. I think is like World Bodybuilding Fitness and Fashion is what WBFF stands for.
funny.
But the men's side
is suspect.
Dude,
Sucio.
suspect.
These guys come out as like Aztec warriors.
Yeah.
Like fucking doing their routines and like
It's too weird for me,
like,
man.
what's
Like,
happening, man?
They're
just
too
turn-
handsome.
Yeah.
It's literally like you're backstage at a casting for Days of Our Lives.
Yeah.
It's just like a trend out Days of Our Lives, which would be the best soap opera of all time. Going through all that drama with the shortest fuse ever.
It's just like a
punching people in the face.
watching it's like a Costanza moment. You're watching, you're like, it moved. You gotta change, you gotta watch something else. Go back to the porn comments.
Yeah, it's a little concerning because, like, I mean, at a certain part in building a brand, things will get a little culty. But I was there when they have a kids one now. A little Mr. Little Miss competition, and they encourage. I was there in the Bahamas where Dillette was up there with his fucking flat top, looking like Murtaugh from Lethal Weapon, and he was like encouraging everyone to get their young children into it. I was like, whoa,
Yeah, I'm out.
dude, very concerning.
It's a bit much.
Well, because at a certain point, like we all need to recognize, and like it's harboring a lot of, and there are people who do it professionally and can understand the separation of, you know, what it is in like a different private life that they look to fulfill outside the gym, but it's masking a lot of very concerning issues. Like, how many do you follow Generation Iron Instagram account?
No.
It's essentially just turning into the bodybuilding obituary.
Oh really?
What did
is
we
like you
count?
got
6 people that died in
last
like the
week?
last 12 tiles?
Where?
Like the
Like on their Instagram
12
posts,
of their posts were just like 6 of them were
NPC
people dead.
people
Really?
just dropping dead. Some guys in Europe dropping dead. Because like I think at a certain point, like if the NFL had that, I mean the NFL had a problem with like Junior Seau shooting himself in the chest and being like, hey, please examine my brain. And that fucking almost brought the league to its knees. That's the NFL. Bodybuilding has had issues with like, you know, irresponsible coaching around drugs, especially on the female side, where it's like, at what point do you think bodybuilding becomes dangerous?
Well, I have a major issue with that, like in the sense, like there is coaches out there that are just not taking into consideration their athletes' health. Yeah. But at the same time, there's a lot of good coaches out there. But like even back in my day, like there was very few knowledgeable people. Right. Like when it really comes down to it. Whereas nowadays you have different guys like in the industry who are like have backgrounds in medicine or like they're doctors, like so they understand like what they're talking about, right? But it's like also at some point when you're a fucking bodybuilder at that level, I'm talking like Olympia level. Yeah. So this is like how you make your living. This is like what you're known for. This is your career. Like this is what you're doing. It's like at some point you just have to understand that it's not going to be healthy. Right. So what the fuck? Like it's like I see all these guys like, yes, do your blood work. You don't want to, if you do your blood work regularly, you're going to see there's like shit going on. You can hope to rectify it and things like that, right? But it's like some of these guys, like they'll do a whole gang of shit. They'll be on a whole heap of drugs or whatever they're doing. And then they'll get blood work and they'll be like, why is this fucked up? or they'll be like, okay, we need to stop now. And we need to just clean you out and get this back under control, bring these levels down, this and this and this. So now you're like yo-yoing everything that's going on and not understanding like the numbers that you're pumping out on the test over here are directly correlated to the fact that you're using what you're using. It's not like you just walked in off the street and you're like, Jesus Christ, look at your hematocrit, man. Like what? Yeah, you're on drugs, dude. Like, and it's like, so you're going to drop people down to this like healthy range. Now we see your range, your levels are good. Right back up. Right. What did we do that for? Yeah. Why did we do that? Like, what's the fucking sense behind that?
At a certain point too, there has to be, and this is what we were talking about this the other day, there has to be ownership on the athlete itself.
Yeah, like you don't have to do what someone tells you to do. You don't have to listen to that coach.
But there'd be no other way they'd get it done. Yeah. There'd be no other fucking way. Like people, and look, I understand the need, like if you're in a push for a prep, like getting someone that you trust to do it. But it's like being able to push back, like people get told what to lift, how to lift it, what to eat, when to eat it, what drugs to take, where to stick it, when to stick it. It's like at a certain point, like it's not even you anymore, right? Like you should cut your pro card in half and give it the other half to the guy that's...
Yeah, that's why like, I've had discussions with different guys I train. And it's like, these guys have been in this industry for a long time. They've done countless shows. They've won shows. They're like, I mean, amateur pros, whatever. It's like, at some point you have to just like sit back and be like, I've learned all this stuff from all these people. Why do I still need to like tell Killian to diet me every time? Yeah. Like just take the reins, man. I don't want to think. But you diet 70 other people. Yeah. What?
Can't do it.
If I can't diet myself, what does that tell you? Like I understand you want someone just to tell you what to do because you don't trust like maybe he has a better eye than you. So cool. Get him to look at you and get him to like bounce your ideas off each other. Like, what do you think about this? He's like, no, I'll probably take that out. I wouldn't do that because, you know, and like you guys are working together. But the fact that you need to like, just be like a zombie, like, what do I eat? Egg whites? Yeah. And then you told me that broccoli. All right, cool. Like, I can't have any meat, right? Just fish? Okay. Like,
dude, Dorian's phone stresses me the fuck out. Around Olympia time, I'll just laugh. I'll send him a message and be like, hey, bro, what should I have for breakfast? And he's like, just go fuck yourself. Because that's literally all of his guys are just like, what I like, one of my favorite things about you is like at a certain point, and I'm guilty of this, but not necessarily to a fault or like not a fault, is like you have to close the gate. It's like I have things that I do that I know work, that I've reproduced not only in myself, but in other people. And like that's why you have a training style. I have a training style. You have a training style. That's not like this malleable, like, well, you know, I'm really keeping an open mind. It's like, what do we got, 16 weeks? Yeah. I got 16 weeks till an NFL season. You got 16 weeks till a fucking Olympia. Do you want to get big? Or do you want to just have a fucking sit around and sing Kumbaya? Because it's like too many people are like, wow, there's so much out there. I'm just trying to learn from everyone. It's like...
And that brings back to like you're talking about before, like how the industry is like so... There's so much information now and so many people giving that information. So it's like all these people like... It's like Killian gives me a diet and I'm doing it for like 3 weeks and then me and you see each other in the gym and I'm like, yo, I mean this. You're like, yo, you shouldn't eat that. Your coach like, why isn't your coach have you doing this? And I'm like, hey man, why am I not doing that? And then what about this? And then this other guy tells me, oh, your back's weak or something. It's like, yo, should I do more back? It's like this like constant like sound, like we're bouncing off ideas of everybody, right? It's like, so I've had this discussion with someone recently who I help train. I'm like, brother, hear one voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just shut the fuck up.
Thank
and
God.
You paid this guy, or you relying on this guy you trust, whatever it is, to tell you to do a plan. So obviously he has a plan, let's hope. So just because it's not like going the way other people said, he obviously has a plan of steps he's trying to take, landmarks he's trying to hit. And so why don't you just fucking relax and listen to this? I tease that because I was talking to the kid. He bounces off to all these people, trains with this guy, poses with this guy, goes and gets this guy's advice, goes talk to this. And they're like, you don't have anything that makes you like that you've come up with is your own.
Yes.
So it's fine to talk to all these people, but then create something of your own that you take from all these people that's now your style. So I took a little bit from here, a little bit from here, right? And I'm like, I told him like the whole time I bodybuilded, I'm like, you know how many voices I listen to? He's like, how many? I'm like, 2.
Were they both in your own head?
Yeah.
Yes. Psycho.
But I'm like two voices outside the plethora of voices in my head. I'm like, was my buddy I started training with in Rhode Island when I first started bodybuilding. I left Rhode Island because I had to come back here. So obviously I didn't have someone. So I met someone here who I ended up training with here, my buddy Darren. Yeah. Those are the only 2 people I listened to. Yeah. My entire time. And that might have been to a fault because like they weren't, like a couple of them were like their ideas of different things didn't work that well because they were more training heavy than actually knowing about the diet. The diet was more like, oh, this worked for this. Let's try this. It's just like deplete and this and that. Right. So like, as I got older, I realized like, man, I would have really benefited from someone who was like Dorian, who understands like the intricacies of the nutrition type thing. Whereas before I was just like winging it. Yeah. Like doing like the bro science shit. But it's like, but at least I made the fucking decision to listen to one person. Like there could have been a room full of 100 people fucking telling me what to do. I'd be like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. I listen to this guy.
But I think too, the butterfly effect, I don't think, because I think about this with my own training is if you were to have someone who was like knowledgeable about the diet, maybe you wouldn't have been so like, did you have preps where you just did like hours of cardio? Mm-mm. No. Did you have training sessions where you're like, all right, man, I got to fucking get peeled. So I got to work way harder because I'm off? No. Never. Because my thing is like, I did things inefficiently for a long time, but it taught me how to work. Because I'm like, fuck, I'm really far away from my goal. Yeah. And I'm doing this kind of to myself and I don't know why. But the one thing I do know how to do is work really hard. So when I'm training, I'm just going to fucking work really hard.
Yeah. I mean, it never really happened to me because my mentality towards training was always like every session, every rep counted. So like I was like, and I understood that this is a progression leading to like one day. Yes. So I'm not like, I don't need to be ripped here. I don't need to be ripped here. I need to be ripped right over here on this one day. So I don't need to look optimal till that day. And so I have all this time, right? And like I know I'm going to put the effort in. I know I'm not going to veer off my diet. I know I'm not going to do weird shit like all of a sudden binge and whatever, go out drinking or doing all this stuff, right? Like I was like dedicated to the path. So I just had faith that it would work out. Not that like I was never like as shredded as I wanted to be, but I also didn't want to sacrifice size and fullness to be this ultra shredded, fucking emaciated guy. Because like, and that's what people like, I don't get, like sometimes you have to play, I was talking about this with Dorian about somebody. It's like when we get the guy really, really tight and really lean, he loses all fullness. So like the dimensions of him and the roundness and the craziness and the proportions disappears when you suck down and get shredded. Yeah. It turns into a skinny guy on stage. And it's a 270, 260 pound man. So it's like, how does that happen? Well, like we need to keep him fuller and we need to bring him down quicker at the end in order to not sacrifice that size, right? So I may not be like the most shredded guy on stage, but like as we're seeing in recent shows at the fucking at IFBB, they're not awarding the most shredded guy. Yeah. Because Phil Klahar, who should have won, in my opinion, the last 2 shows that happened, didn't win, and he was fucking peeled out of his mind.
Texas and Tampa?
Yeah.
How did he play?
He was like, I think 3rd at Tampa and 2nd at Texas. Like you could have argued in both shows he could have won, in my opinion. Both, right? Yeah.
Monster.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's like Ian is in great condition, fucking great condition, but he also doesn't sacrifice size for that condition. So he's not as peeled as Phil, Phil is peeled, like fucking bone dry. Ian's a little more less peeled, but blasted out.
Yeah, Ian always looks like a monster. We were talking about this when we were in Tampa. It's like Valair is just like always looks like the Dorian Yates kind of thing. You're like, oh, this is freaky, and it like reminds me of the '90s. I'm like, this is just weird looking, which is great.
Yeah,
you got to play a bunch of muscle groups put together.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, if you tried to like emaciate him down to nothing, he'd look like crap. Right. He'd feel like crap too. Like he even, I think he even did the show last year when COVID was on or whatever, when he lost to Hunter Labrada. He just felt off, and he looked off, and he looked flat, and he looked stringy because something had happened. Like I don't know what happened and what was going on, whether it was a mental thing or like just a breakdown of whatever. But then he came back in the next show and won that show and looked like a completely different guy. So it's like, and I think it was like a situation of his coach who's coaching him learning how his body responds. Because I think his coach for that show was like, we got to get you fucking shredded. So we're going to bring you down hard. We're going to deplete the fuck out of you, and then we're going to fill you. And didn't anticipate that the fill would take longer, or that he could maintain, he could take a lot more carb. Yeah. So he probably carbed him up to like 50% of his ability. Like you give him 800 grams when he could handle fucking 1,000, 1,500.
Thursday night. We should have started him on Tuesday night or something like that.
And I think that's like a difference, like when we talk to you, Mike, about bodybuilding versus some other people we talked to, and just even like other people you see nowadays with like the new voices, is like you at least respect the subjectivity that is bodybuilding. Like it's subjective, and there's like some art to it, to posing, to dieting guys, to how guys look. Whereas nowadays people have moved so far into these objective category of like plates per side, cleaning up these reps, counting reps, like adding more weight to machines. And we've talked about this. Like, what is the purpose behind bodybuilders
like
overhead pressing 7 plates?
I think I understand it because it's like there's always shifts in bodybuilding. Like in the 90s, it was like volume and just like you didn't see back in the like in the 90s. They're like, yo man, I deadlifted 8 plates. It's like or like I fucking shoulder pressed. Like they weren't talking about that.
No,
it was like go in and work the fuck out of that muscle and like stretch and tear fiber and go and then just rest and come back. And just fucking be a bodybuilder. Just pump up all the time. Pump. Keep blooding blood, right? And now it's like shifted to this thing, and that's how I said to you guys, like bodybuilding is becoming powerlifting because it's becoming a powerlifting mentality.
I agree. Yeah.
So it's like I'm tracking sets. I've never written a workout down in my life.
I love that.
Ever in my fucking life.
This is team don't write shit down.
Right.
It was like I care enough to remember.
Yeah.
Like I don't need you to fucking. I don't need. Oh, I did that. I did 4 plates here.
Last
holy fuck!
4 days ago.
Yeah,
like
I'm not an ostrich.
10-second fucking talk.
It's like I remember my best lifts ever. I remember them because I was there, and they were fucking difficult as shit. And I never want to do. And sometimes in my head, I'm like, how the fuck did I ever do that? Because I could never do it now.
Yeah.
I ever do it now. It would like crumble me. I'd literally just shatter if I even took that weight off the rack or I unhooked for a bench, like in the weight I used to do.
Yeah.
But it's like I've also been through and understood that like I'm getting older, I can't lift like that. And maybe I shouldn't have lifted like that back then.
When you did, yeah.
Like so it's like you know what I mean? I get the guys who are like young and they're pushing this weight, but then you see this video of whatever the hell his name is. I feel bad forgetting his name, but he tore his pec with Larry Wheels.
Oh, Ryan Crowley, friend of the show.
Ryan Crowley.
I'll see you in a few weeks.
But fucking like it's like that right there, like you can see as soon as he takes the weight off.
Go, buddy. Speed wobbles.
Yeah, but you can see how there's nothing set.
No.
There's nothing set. There's no bracing. There's no like I'm not engaged in my lats. I'm not, my sternum isn't up. Nothing's here tucked in. So even if he didn't get the lift, he fails. He pops and he fails. Yeah. People grab it. But you're so open, man. Yeah, just like what is this open here and bap like it's like when I tore my pec, I did the same. Like my shoulder was fucked. My shoulder was fucked because I had problems from football.
Yeah,
I had a torn labrum they never told me about. I saw it in my chart.
That was a nice one.
My senior year on my chart, I saw it in a huge asterisk and an arrow to my shoulder. Torn labrum needs repair. And I'm like, what's that? And he's like, oh, don't worry about that. He's like, you wouldn't have played. He's like, you wouldn't have played. They used to tape my shoulder down so I couldn't lift my arm like that.
That's fucking crazy.
Well, my only
lineman, I'm assuming.
Yeah, my only motion was this because I was a D lineman, so I could lock out and shed people, but I couldn't open up because my arm got fucked, right? So I already had these shoulder issues, and I was at the animal cage at Olympia. And I literally got on the plane. I put 2 shots in my shoulders before I went because, of course, you need to juice up because it's going to matter before you fucking go to the fucking Olympia.
I like to have Halo for breakfast.
Yeah, so I'm like, so I shot my shoulders and I get on the plane. my shoulders both get so inflamed from the plane, and I also got sick. So I literally landed with a sore throat and a stuffed nose and like a headache. I was like, what's going on? So I went to the hotel and I slept. And the next morning I woke up and we were having breakfast and I looked at like G Diesel, who was with Animal for. I'm like, great. I can't fucking do this today, man.
Yeah.
And my event was first, like pressing 200-pound dumbbells. First event.
Well, of all events.
You snapped it in the fucking... Did you do it?
No. So I've done it before, like a bunch of times, right? So I'm like, I told him, like, I just don't feel good, man. My shoulder's fucked. I feel fucked up. And he's like, well, see how you feel when you get there. And I'm like, all right. So like I start getting warmed up. I was taking so much, like, all these pre-workouts. I was rubbing fucking hot rub like all over my shoulders, like from these powerlifting guys. They had all this fucking like death fucking hot rub. And so I'm like,
on it. The equine stuff. It
was literally like clear, like water, and it had like Asian, like Chinese writing all over it.
That's never a good sign.
That's not good.
And I was like, so I'm just burning at this point. I'm like, let's just fucking do it, man. So I like warmed up with like hundreds, and like they had 150s. So I did the 150s, no problem. I'm like, but the bench was high. You know, when the bench is high, it's hard to kick.
Yeah.
It's like you feel like you're coming from a hole, so you'd rather be like here more.
Yeah.
So I took the 200s because I go, do you want the 150s again? I'm like, no, I'm not going to waste my energy. Yeah. I'm like, if you don't have anything between, I'll just go. So I literally kicked I used to double kick, so I kicked both, and I kicked the left one up, and I went to turn the right, and I dropped it.
Okay.
And I know, and like I've never dropped a weight on a kick up ever.
Yeah.
And that should have been like my fucking don't do this. Yeah. And I was like, whoa. And I literally was like, what the fuck? I'm like, my arm just didn't open. I was like, what the fuck? So I'm like, he's like, oh, just take a minute. And if you want to go again, you can. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I'll take my belt off. That's what the problem was.
That was the belt.
It was like a fucking massive Inzer belt, like a thick Inzer belt. So I'm like,
14.
So I'm like, I'll be fucking fine. So like I went to kick it up, and then I kicked this one up, and it opened. As soon as I opened, as soon as I rotated,
worst feeling in the fucking.
And then some fucking, I forget who it was. I think it might have been Bobby Fields. Do you remember Bobby?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was him because I don't want to give him. I don't want to say bad about him. But he like literally, I was like, I let it go and I snapped back and I was like, oh my, I'm like, fuck. And I felt the hole.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh fuck. And he's like, bro, it's just. He's like, you just strained it. Just stretch it.
Strained it.
Dude grabs my arm, starts pulling my arm back. He's like yanking me back. I'm like, and I can feel him. No. I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's like, just stretch it out, bro. And I'm like,
oh man.
Oh, literally, like they're like, and then like, G's looks and he's like, you want to do it again? I'm like, no. What the fuck? Like, literally took my shirt off within like 20 minutes, just purple, like blood all here. I'm like, oh, this is fuck. I got the rest of the weekend at the Olympia to hang out. A fucking torn pec.
Yeah. Sitting there with your fucking arm in a sling.
Yeah.
It's that cage is full of bad ideas. Yeah. I went in there 2 weeks after I tore my pec. I tore my pec prepping for a meet, and then I went in there 2 weeks later. It was like just doing a deadlift thing. Yeah. And I'm like, well, if it's gonna snap, I'd rather it snap here than have this. But it's like I walked in, and I was literally black from my wrist to my pelvis.
Wow.
And I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna get laughed at. And like Milanachev, I don't know if you know Andre. With you,
I know who you're talking about. I remember him.
He was like, oh, like a week before, he showed me pictures of him having leeches on his tricep, pulling the bruising out. It's like, it's nothing. Welcome. That's like your entrance into the cage. No one knew who I was. It was like, oh, he's purple. It's like, yeah, let him in. Yeah, it's insane, man. Yes. But at least I think there's like, show me your scars, right?
Yeah.
Like at least there's like skin in the game. This idea that people aren't doing that anymore.
No.
Like people aren't pushing it because they don't have to. Because you can fucking make money without doing that anymore.
Yeah.
There was a day where you had to fucking lay out for it.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like I was having this discussion with a couple of people, and it was like talking about how like when people are doing shows nowadays, it's like they're not doing the show even with like they think they can win, but they're delusional, right? Like you're like look in the mirror or look at even guys in the gym who are your weight class, and be like, I don't look like that. Like it's like no, I want to do it, so I'm going to do well. Like I'm putting effort in, so I'm going to do well. It's like this is not the sport where that happens.
Right. It says I'm running a 5K.
Yeah, like it might maybe in bodybuilding, like in powerlifting or whatever. Like you're at a local meet or whatever. Your raw strength can like and your shit technique, you just pull that fucking thing up or you squat that thing up all awkward, and you beat these people who have like been practicing. Right, you can muscle it to a certain level, 100%. And then you get past that, and it's like never happening again. Yeah. But it's like so these kids see these like local shows or like these up and coming shows where they can get pro cards. And they're just like, yeah, I work out, so I could do this.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you don't understand, like, the amount of work it takes to be, like, a complete bodybuilder is fucking astronomical.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lifestyle choice. And that's why you see guys who have a lot of promise, but they have shit work ethic.
Yeah.
Or they could have like the craziest genetics, but they have shit work ethic. So you still see those guys, they never get to where they should be.
Do you feel like they have shit work ethic because they have good genetics and good potential?
But I think the shit work ethic comes from that, because they're like, oh, I just do whatever and I grow anyway.
Yeah.
But I think it's also because a lot of those same guys might be getting recognition on social media for being like, wow, you look crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
From the average person is like, you look insane. You're exactly what I want to look like. Oh, all day. You're the best. You're the best. You're the best. But when that same guy gets on stage and stands next to a real fucking guy,
Yeah.
it's like a child and its father.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, what the
That's
fuck
the best
are
part
you-
about this place is like you can't really front because you have arguably, I don't know, 3 of the top 10 guys, top 15 guys in the world, maybe more. Regan, AV, Q, Antoine, Ford, Dorian's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like you can't bring that here.
Yeah.
Although, not for lack of trying.
Yeah. But it's like, that's the thing I've always liked about coming here since we started coming here. Is like, for me, it's like, I don't know, I'm always the smallest person in this gym, and it's always an opposing training style to me. Because like, I could rock up at any Good Life and just like load some squat bar and like do a lift and then feel pretty good about myself for the next 45 minutes in front of everybody.
Yeah.
But it's like, I come in here, it's like, I could come in here and squat 405 for reps every day in the corner, and no one at this gym is going to turn and think shit about
you'll
it.
do it so much prettier than everyone.
Yeah, that's the only thing I win on.
But no one
And
cares.
that's the correlation people don't get, right? It's like, if you're squatting, like I've seen your videos and I've seen you do like clean,
Thanks.
like all kinds of shit, right? Like I've watched your stuff on Instagram, and it's like, the movement is so efficient.
Thank you.
So it's like this like effortless thing, right? It's like when people see like a different, like some guy who's really good at squatting, like Antoine.
Yeah.
Who doesn't think, he just moves. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's pretty to watch, right? So like these guys are like, oh, he squats 4 plates, I squat 4 plates. It's like, yeah, but you look like shit.
You're doing it in parachute pants and a pair of atomics like a fuck.
And you're fucking, you're wrapping up and you're fucking psyching up and you take the bar off and you're quaking like you got Parkinson's, like fucking. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's not what it is, dude.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're moving the weight, but you can't do that repeatedly. Like,
Yeah.
you could do that, and if someone put a gun to your head and you were like, that was your max out, like, oh man, I've never done that. And they're like, do it again. You could do it. That guy couldn't.
Even you just holding your fingers out like that.
I almost went to the squat rack. I was like, do it again. I was like, I'll go.
Just go,
I'll
dude.
go back on the machine.
What gets me is the bodybuilding trend of, this idea of like pushing strength is the only means of progressive overload. Like whenever I see a good old reverse banded hack squat with
your
knee
favorite
wraps on, dude, I die at death. I
Please don't,
die
like, I can't even, we'll be here for an hour if I get into that.
Yeah, that's your
that's
your
what
most favorite
I fucking
lift.
hate that shit, man. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's great that you put 10 plates aside on. It's fucking great. Take the band off. Control that fucking thing.
No.
Like, you will not get out of the bottom
Not a
without that
chance.
fucking like, give me that little
And we've seen the band now on everything. Like, I've now seen the band on the Smith machine press.
I saw a band. Oh my god! I gotta tell you the Instagram account after, because I don't want to blow them up.
Oh,
you're
okay.
gonna love this gym. Oh, it's fucking amazing. It's like the mecca of horrible training. But it's like the dude was doing a pull down, like a lat pull down on a cable,
Right.
with a band.
Oh, now I'm confused.
He had a cable and a band?
Yeah, the band. Not only was there no tension on the band, you only hit the band when you got about halfway, and then it caught you, and then you went back up. So there's literally no point to the band.
No.
But it was on there.
Yeah.
So he was holding on to the cable.
No, he was holding onto the bar.
The handle.
The cable's like inside the band. So
Okay.
they hooped it into the band, so it's hanging. But the band's hanging this low.
Right.
So you have to pull it to about 3/4 before you even get the band.
Oh, nice.
And then it goes back up and the band releases tension again. So it never caught anything.
Great.
And there was never any tension added from the band. It was just literally hanging from the
I
machine.
love that.
And it's just like, you're fucked, man. Like, you saw that and you're like, how do I make this work for this?
Yeah.
It's like,
My other favorite thing is the band or the gym pin, but when they haven't done the full stack yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, you still got so much
Right.
more to go, man. You don't have to put the
gym
45 halfway down the thing.
It's hard because like there are people who can do it well and do it smart.
And I'll
like,
respect
like
it.
JP is always one. When the gym pin comes out, it's like he needed that to do adductors with 7 plates on a full thing, like Jordan Peters.
And he's like still doing 15 reps. And I'm like,
but
yeah,
he'll also
granted.
take it to a stiff like deadlift and pull 8 plates like a fucking animal.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just like that looks really hard. So I'm only going to take the part of all that makes my life a little bit easier. And I'm going to use that. So you can keep your 8-plate stiff leg. And like, there are people who use like band tension in the way it makes sense.
Yeah,
of course.
But it's few and far between. It's like in a sport where, and this is why I give credence to, when we look at exercise, we look at like resistance profiles and strength curves and all that. And we look at some exercises that are just from a biomechanics perspective, stupid. It forces people to work really, really hard. Like a tricep kickback. You can find old school guys doing tricep kickbacks with massive fucking Clydesdale triceps. And then I see a bunch of nerds with pocket protectors going, well, resistance profiles and force curves. It's like, you know what you don't have? A testicle. Because that guy had to stone up and just try and, 80-pound dumbbell tricep kickbacks. It's like, yeah, we probably have a better tool, but there's no better tool than just working your bag off.
Yeah, it's just like my thing. Like I remember during COVID, I had like only a barbell at home to train. I was doing like upright row. And then someone was like, isn't that an inefficient exercise? I'm like, sure, man, but I've never seen an upright row being done by a guy who wasn't a fucking monster.
Right.
It's like, it's probably sick though for everything.
Right.
Yeah. There's also ways to make any movement efficient for like what you're trying to do, right?
Yeah, it's like
you
probably
don't need to be
want.
like, it's like bodybuilding is basically founded off that, like finding angles, finding like coming out of posture, like creating like coming out of posture, then getting into posture again to like create a different angle, right? So it's like there's all these different things you can do to create good exercises. Just being, the way you do upright row fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But the way I do it doesn't suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm finding the angle where there is tension. I'm not trying to like lift the bar up and put it down.
Yeah.
I'm generating force through my elbow. I'm leaving my hand dead.
Yeah.
I'm grabbing on delt, whatever it might be, right? Whereas people just see like, oh, I pulled the bar up. What the fuck? It's upright row. I just pulled the bar up. It's like, no, man, it's like looking at a golf swing and thinking you just swung the club.
Yeah.
Like you're not just swinging the club, man.
Yeah.
Like a lot went into that. It looks simple, but a lot goes into
And
it,
that's
right?
the thing. It's like golf swing looks simple, and then swing a golf club, you look like an idiot.
Fuck that. Go shoot a basketball if you fucking think you're good at basketball, and tell me you look like Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Effortless, just like
Spastic.
Yeah. Everyone else is fucking
Chucking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard in the paint. I'll tear my Achilles just even at the free throw line. How do you deal now with like, you're a coach now. Like, not that you weren't a coach before, but Instagram has now dubbed you
The coach,
the
actually.
coach. Like, you've been knighted. Like, it's like Zuck came in with the sword and was like, "You're the fucking." I feel like you're the dude. Like,
no, I mean, I've never professed to be in, like, even when I do videos and I do videos with you or you, like, it's not like, oh man, like I have a certain style of training, a certain way of doing things, but it's like I don't have like a name for it, and I don't have like a fucking gimmick I can sell people. And people ask me all the time, like, do you have a program? No, I don't. I will never fucking have one either. Like, because I'm not concerned with like if you said to me, we're gonna do back, I want to do this, and this.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's go do it.
Yeah.
And I'll take a look at how your movement is, and see if I think I can make it better or like make it more effective for you. And that's where I get off. Like, I don't care about like, all my guys do kickbacks with a cable. That's all they do. They don't use a fucking dumbbell. It's like, no, like I'll work with people on anything they do, right? Because I see movement like differently than most people, I guess, in the sense that like I see where there's a hitch, or I see where there's like some type of like divergence from the line it should be on, and I just see where I would want it to go. And I don't ever fucking, it's not like when I'm in the gym a lot of the time, I'm not like you and me trained, like I don't train like a fucking animal. I don't really care to anymore. But like a lot of the time I spend in the gym, I'm moving in different lines and different angles to try and feel things better so that I can equate it for other people. So I'm not trying to like, I might supinate my wrist a bit, or I might tilt back, or I might open my elbow, or do different things like that. So like I'm just finding these new angles to hit areas that are really hard for a lot of guys, like low lats and things like that. Because in bodybuilding, it's all this like fucking, you know what I mean? Like, so as soon as you get guys to like start engaging and like lifting sternum and like depressing shoulders and moving through things, these massive shoulders these guys have built, they're able to like actually feel their back grab, right? And like feel that engagement, where like before it was just like, I pulled the fucking thing back and forth, and I was hoping my back grew from that.
I think that's like the thing, right? Like, we talk about this all the time. I know I talk about this with people that we work with about like what coaching is, and coaching is like people pay you for that nuance. Like, people don't pay you to write exercises down. Like, bodybuilding.com has existed forever. Like, I'm sure, you know, Gethin has another program out with his polka trash tattoos. You know, you can download that. But it's like, nuance is what they look for. Nuance is what they get from you. And I think the thing about you that hits home, obviously, with the people that you train is it's a thoughtfulness. And that's what you're explaining. Like, there's like a level of bodybuilding that's the least thoughtful when people execute stuff. But the one thing that you bring to it is, like, even when we train chest, is like, things were thoughtful. Like, we got on a machine, and as much as a machine moves the way it moves, it's like there's a level of like presence you make somebody bring to the session, which is obviously what makes people probably train smarter and not jack themselves up.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, there's a lot of like people comment on different things I do or whatever, and they're like, so-and-so is just not lifting heavy enough. Like
what does
that even mean though? Like, like relative to what? Like, is 1,000 pounds heavy enough?
Yeah.
Is 800 pounds not enough? Like, I don't understand. Like, what's your definition of heavy?
Yeah.
And if you see these guys going through this workouts that I'm doing, where it's like we're combining exercises, we're doing a giant set or just even a double set or a drop set, it's like my mentality isn't to see how strong that guy is. I want to see how fucking badly how much blood I can get in that muscle and how pumped I can get that fucking dude and engorge that area, because that's what bodybuilding is. I don't care. And like, if I can do that with 4 plates or I can do it with 2, cool. But like, and I tell people like all the time, like, come to the gym and do the training.
Yeah, do the session,
like,
please.
Do the session and just see what you think. And then when you're sitting there doing whatever, you're laying on the ground, be like, I'll be like, was it heavy enough for you?
Has anyone ever showed up?
No,
of course not.
But it's like,
has anyone ever gone outside
fucking only like
outside?
If you're doing like a shoulder thing, and at the end we do like some burnout set where it's like you're holding your arms up, or you're pressing like 40-pound dumbbells, and it feels like 1,000 pounds.
It does, because
there's so much fucking blood in there, right? And you're so pumped up. It's like, you can't tell me then like, but it's not heavy enough. Okay, go grab the 120s and do it then. Right. You're like, yeah.
You know, that's the thing. Like, yeah, then do the same exercise and do it as heavy as you fucking want to.
It's like, it's fine if you want to lift that way, where it's like I do 4 exercises, 3 to 4 sets. I work up to like a top set, and it's my heavy set, and I move on. Cool. I did that for years too.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. And I'm not sitting here like, I've never once said to anybody like my style is the only style. It's like, even if someone wants to train that way, I could still train them, because I try and make what they're doing more efficient through my eye. Not that it's wrong what they're doing, but like, I just maybe see something that you could tweak, like the angle of your wrist. Or like, you know what I mean? Anything you could do, like tuck your elbows in a little more, engage your lat. Stuff that these people might not think of that might add that little difference and make them even stronger at being stronger.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's like the idea that your training is market research.
Yeah.
Like, that's like my favorite thing about it, because like so many people, like you said, are so just not present when they're lifting. Yeah. Like, if I see a coach that's not present when they're lifting, it's like, how the fuck are you going to relay that? Like, when we train, like, use the word like grab and roll and stuff, and like all these different things that are just feelings. Like, you use words to describe feelings, and then it's one of the things when you get it, you understand what you're saying, but you can only describe that. Because if I say abduct your shoulder, like, that's not a feeling. That's just some like binary motion of moving your humerus away from your body or whatever. Yeah. Right? Where it's like that, the idea that when you're training, you're just thinking of different ways to affect your clients.
Yeah. And it's also like the whole thing is like, if someone was to do chest with me, or you did chest with me, it's like, let me see how you press first.
Yeah.
And you know how you press, and you can see your motion of like where you, like your first mover is like my hand, or it's my shoulder, whatever it might be that I'm engaging with first, right? So you can see what that is, and then you can try and unravel that for people, right? So it's like, do this and then set up and then move, right? So it makes a lot more sense for people. Like, I'm not going to come into the session and be like, okay, like when we do this, you're going to lift your sternum and you're going to put your elbows at a 30-degree angle. Like, you know what I mean? Because like, I don't even know how you move. You might move perfect. Like yesterday I trained this kid, Jay, who's a little bodybuilder kid here, Asian guy. I trained him on shoulders. I never trained him in my life, but like, the kid's so gifted. Like, he's the only person I've ever not had to correct or like fix, in my eyes, what a lateral should be, like a dumbbell lateral with the shoulder, right? Because I said to him, like, I'm like, pick up the weight and like just show me what you do with like 20 pounds, like something easy. And I was just like standing there, like, I'm like, it's fine. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, if you want me to nitpick it, I'd want your chest to drive forward more, so that when you get tired, you're not hunching. Because when you get tired, you start like kind of like hunching with the trap a bit. But like, I'm like, I wouldn't change anything. And they're just like, Alora's looking at me like, what? I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not here to like, if it's good, it's good.
Yeah,
that's a confidence that most coaches don't have. Most coaches like need to validate themselves by telling everyone that what they're doing is trash.
My idea is like, I've told this to Dorian those times, like, I have no desire to train people all the time. I'd rather you just come to me and like, if I can help you with something, then you go back to doing what you're doing. And if you took something that worked and you implemented it, cool. Like, I don't telling you to train the way I train.
Yeah.
If you like the way you train that way.
But I think people want to train like you because you look crazy, because you look sick. Yeah. I think that's what the fact that because your wrists are abnormally large for a land mammal, for other land mammals that have wrists. So it's just like, I think that's the thing is like people are like, well, I want to train with him all the time because certainly he trained with himself all the time.
Yeah.
And he looks like a fucking animal.
Yeah. Cause I stopped bodybuilding for like a long time because I was like doing security work and I was still lifting for fun and whatever, but I got like heavily into boxing.
Terrifying.
So I got down to like 260 and I was boxing.
Down to 260.
Yeah. That was light. I felt like fucking lightning.
That's
at 260.
I
felt fast.
Him throwing mitts at 260?
No.
And I was like, so like I was super into it, right? Like I just really enjoyed it. And I was training with like a lot of really good guys, like just really enjoying learning. Like, because it's crazy how like if you understand movement in one aspect of something, you can see how it correlates to movement. Not that it's direct, but it's like you see how efficient that guy is at throwing a punch.
Yeah.
Because you see how smooth it is and you see the chain of motion, right? So it's just like, it's crazy to see like you can even equate stuff to boxing into lifting, right? You can be like, when you tell a guy, when you throw your jab or when you throw your uppercut, how you lock on your lat and you come up, like that's just
Same
pulling
thing.
on lat. Same thing. Like learn how to engage that, right? So like I was spending a lot of time away from the gym and I was just lifting, like literally I'd lift a little bit after I box just to keep my size, like what I thought I had size, right? So then when COVID hit, I was training at my buddy's gym just before I came here ever. And I was just like, I'm going to get big again. And I was just like, whatever. I mean,
Just going to get big again.
But then I just started like fucking lifting again. And I wasn't even on like a lot of juice. I was like on TRT, like just from like legitimately like from my doctor. And I was just like, but I was lifting consistently and I lift the way I lift.
Yeah.
And my proportions go again because like I just.
Can I tell you my favorite thing about you?
Yeah.
You said the word TRT. I shot you to look over here, and then you said from your doctor, because I'm like, of course. Because it's like TRT doesn't mean trend replacement therapy. When you talk to some of these kids.
No, it's like, yeah, I understand. Like I have a bad
favorite.
connotation of that too, but it's just like, it's better than me saying low dose test. Do you know what I mean? Like,
No, but like you wasn't actually going to a physician.
Yeah,
you
I know.
going to
TRT.
your buddy's bathtub.
No.
Banging a gram a test a week, going like I'm on TRT.
Yeah, no.
Compared to your 3 grams that you usually run. This is
the lowest TRT dose that has been told to me in the last 6 months was 750.
Was 4
I
compounds.
400.
Right?
That's it. 400.
That sounds like actual TRT.
Especially because you're fucking huge.
Yeah.
I know kids that are 165 pounds.
I still only do 400. I never go higher now. Like I went higher on my bodybuilding. I got up to like as high as I've been up as high as 3 grams a week.
Yo.
In bodybuilding.
How aggro is that?
Yeah, it was just like diminishing returns. Nothing was happening.
Right.
I was just like, not like, I found my sweet spot like for like me actually like growing was like between 1,000 and 15. Like I could feel noticeably stronger or noticeably like aggressive or like hungry. Like, my appetite was crazy. But after that, everything diminished, right? Like it just fell off. Oh my God. But like now, like I've done like getting smarter and getting older and talking to smarter people than myself because there's a ton of them out there. It's like I pay attention to like, okay, maybe I don't need that much of that. And I can like use this other thing. And it's like probably a little bit more beneficial for me and not as hard on my body. And I can plug that in to get my overall milligrams to like maybe something I can handle.
Well, it's funny because like so many people get married to the things that got them where they want. And you with a lesser approach got from like, I'm at 260, now I'm going to get big, but understanding like the constraints of not being in a competitive space. And you were like, oh, I'm just going to put on 40 pounds of tissue in a fucking year.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Where most people in like the peak of their bodybuilding career can't do that because like learning how to shed that mindset of like powerlifters are the worst for this because like they squat four times a week for 2 years, they get really strong relatively, and then they try and do that when they're squatting 400 or 500 pounds 4 times a week, and then they realize they're getting fucked and they can't adopt a different training style. So for you to just be like, well, I'm going to do this totally other thing now, and
it's so crazy to me to like I said to you and I've said to you, like I have so much respect for powerlifters, like in the sense that like I just can't even fathom doing that kind of work. Like I can't. Like,
Sucks.
no, like, yeah, it's, I mean, like, it's just like a beat down. Like, I just feel like I would be beat the fuck down. Like, I'm beat down doing what I do,
right?
Which is volume and like pretty little shit. And like, cause I'm just doing what I'm doing just to like lift the way I like to lift. Cause I have a lot of problems, right? Like I have a bad shoulder. I have this bicep's torn. It's not repaired. So I have all this stuff, right? So like, I have to work around that stuff. Yeah. So I can't do overhead pressing. I can't do anything overhead, right? So it's like, I have to work around that stuff. So that also made me more cognizant of like how to move for people who don't have problems. How can those people move to negate problems ever happening, right?
Yeah.
Because like I used to do this, or I used to do this, and now I'm fucked. So like, why don't I teach people to be like, move in better patterns, right? So like, and even the guys like I'll help out with chest and stuff. They're like, oh man, I always like every one of them at the start of the session. Yo, I gotta watch this left shoulder, man, or I gotta watch this. You know, I had this, and it's like, fuck off, dude. Like, we're gonna bench real now. Like, we're gonna like engage with the palm. We're gonna drive through the pec. We're gonna shove our shoulder down, so it's locked into a position where it's not unstable. Yeah. Because you see these guys like kick up dumbbells or like fucking take the barbell off and it's this. Speed walls. And then it's all of a sudden, king, like it's a king down, and it's like, how the fuck does that not fuck up the most unstable joint in your body? Yeah. It's so unstable. Yeah. Like, I want to get that wherever I can get it to be the most stable. Yeah. I mean, and then move. Yeah. I don't want to be in like, where's the bar? Like, and then I get hitched on one side and I jerk on the other and pop. You know what I mean? Like it's just. I just started to like really look at the way I was lifting based off the limitations I had, right? So it made a lot more sense.
You're one of the few people to come out the other side of it and still get a crazy physique.
Yeah.
Right? That's, I think, from a coaching perspective, like when people have a hard time with adherence, right? And it's really hard for me to listen to someone who's smaller or relatively weaker than me, even if I know that they're smarter than me.
Yeah.
So it's like if someone has been through it, experienced it, but also come back from it.
Yeah.
Like the hero's journey isn't like, hey, go to the mountain and get eaten by the dragon. The hero's journey is go there. Like what happened to Tim? He got fucking scorched. Like guy really lit him up. It's like go there and come back.
Yeah. And that's the thing with like, because I had my hip resurfaced, my right hip resurfaced 3 years ago. So like prior to that, the years leading up to that, I was like in pain every day. Like I'd sit down in a car and I'd go to get out. It'd take me 2 minutes to stand up straight. Because I felt like knives jabbing in my leg because the top of my femur was like eroded. It was like wet wood, basically, with like cysts in it. Oh, and my hip socket is your acetabulum, is that right?
You nailed it.
Yeah, so it was rotted too, and there was no space.
What is it, a deck?
So but that's like what I equated it to a feeling like. Right. It felt like this like that's rotted wood. Like it's literally what it felt like, right, in my body. That's the only way I could equate it, right? So it's like not moving and like grinding. So like literally I had no space there, and so I had to get my hip resurfaced. Like literally working out was awful. Yeah. Like I fucking hated working out because everything was painful. Yeah. From sitting on a bench to doing lateral raises to fucking pressing or doing cable flies, everything hurt. So I was like, I didn't even want to be here. Yeah. Like I was boxing still, but I'd have to warm up for an hour before I could move, and then after the session, done. Yeah. Fucking done. Like I was like popping perks to fucking just get out of pain. Just because I wanted to like keep moving, right? So then I got my hip done, and I was like, literally from the moment I woke up, I couldn't feel it anymore. And I was like, I'm going to the gym every fucking day now. Yeah. Like, cause I lost it for so long and didn't give a fuck about it. And then now I was like, I had this ability to like train all the time now. And I was like hyper focused on like being flexible for my size and for my like the fact that my range in this hip is always going to be limited just because it's not a real fucking joint anymore. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and now like I really worked on that, like getting depth in my leg movements and like really fucking getting it to open up my hips because I don't want this shit to happen again. Right. So it's like, that's why when people like, oh, you like people ask me, I'm like, what's your split? I'm like, I train every day. I don't train hard enough to not train every day. Yeah. In my mind. Cause I know what I did before. Right. So it's like, I understand what that is and I know what this is. And this is nothing like that.
Which is funny. Cause like to anyone on the outside, you'd be like, oh, he's a 5%er, clearly. By the tattoos, he's clearly part of Rich Piana's on. But he's like, no, like, hey, we're not doing this like train every day, insane or remain the same bullshit. It's like we're just trying to not.
No, it's just out of like honestly, just pure like enjoyment. And like,
how about it?
Yeah, and like the ability to like actually move, because like when you have that shit taken away from you, not that I was like in some wheelchair and debilitated, but like it's just like you enjoy it again, right? So it's like, I want to be here. If I need a day off, I'll take a day off because like maybe I get shit to do or I'm really run down. But like if I have the energy to go, I'm going to go. I'd rather move than not move because like I didn't move for so fucking long, right?
I had this conversation with somebody the other day. I said it's like kids who grew up not playing sports equate every workout to achieving something or like overcoming some bullshit. But like with us who all played like high level sports growing up, it's like I just work out because I like to work out. Like it
I liked
seems
working
like a
out when
good
I
thing
played
to do.
football. I enjoyed working out more than I enjoyed playing football.
Yeah.
Like I fucking hated playing football. Like practice and all that shit was awful to me. My favorite time of the year was like when we got back from Christmas break and it was like lifting into spring ball and we were just like getting fucking jacked. Like everyone was like pumping weights and like eating in the fucking cafeteria. I was like, I wish I could do this all the time.
Yeah.
And then football came in and ruined it. It was like I just dropped my size and like my strength would go to shit and I would be like so sore I couldn't lift the way I wanted to lift. I was just like, this sucks. I'm like, as soon as I was done football, I'm like, I'm going right into weightlifting, like going into bodybuilding. It was like,
I think that's what most people lack nowadays, right? And this kind of goes back to how this podcast started, is that like instant gratification of like there's someone watching, where it's like, man, all of us would just train if all the mirrors and all the cameras disappeared because it's like a cool thing to do once a day.
And that's the thing we were talking about before with like the social media. Like everyone who comes in here, they record that they were here every day.
Yeah, it's so strange.
Only people know I'm here every day is because fucking people I train are filming me. Like I don't fucking come in here like back at Pure. Like
imagine any other job where that was the case.
Yeah.
Like in my cubicle, 9 to 5, might grab a coffee later.
Gang in the cubicle. Like,
scooping a turd out of the toilet, being like back scooping turds. Like, dude, no one wants to know.
Yeah,
it's like you want everyone to know you came to the gym. It's just like fucking. It's not that big of a feat.
Correct.
Like just come here and enjoy it and leave.
And it's the enjoyment part that I think is the biggest takeaway, because I think, especially just like I can't get over when I first met you, I walked up to Dorian and I was like, who the fuck is that? Like in a voice where you could have heard me and I was a little concerned because you were doing like mobility stuff. I'm like, that's not normal. Things that big don't move that well. And he's like, oh yeah, it's like a bodybuilder, like fighting background or whatever. But just the idea of enjoyment. Because I think a lot of people look at like us specifically and go, these are masochistic people who must hate themselves. And why do you do this? Like, are you joking me?
No,
I have the best life ever. I just got in here. And like, I think people would look at you specifically and go, this guy is like drill sergeant. One of your videos is literally called like something about torture.
Oh, I don't know.
On YouTube. I mean, I know you're not creating the thumbnails here.
Laura with her.
Could you imagine like Mike's like doing keyword searches, trying to find the best clickbait titles?
I said it in the video as like a joke. I was like, torture time, like as a joke. And then she put torture time,
Yeah. But it's like, I think most people would look at that and be like, wow, like that guy must really, there must be some like demons or something. It's like, nah, dude. Like I had a great childhood. And I like my job. I'm in a stable relationship and I just do this because I enjoy it.
And like one of the best feelings in life, and I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, is like after like whatever workout is hard to you, like say it's like a leg day or like some crazy session where you guys are like whatever you're doing in powerlifting, it's like that feeling of being done that.
Oh yeah.
And then like being at home and just relaxing.
Yeah.
That's like the best feeling on earth. Like if I could, I want to replicate that every day.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to not have that, right?
It makes everything after it feel so much more worth it. Like I was thinking about that today, like when we trained chest yesterday. I was like, man, everything for the rest of the day felt worth it after. Like everything I ate, I was like, oh, this is worth it.
Yeah. This explains my Tim Hortons obsession.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I don't think it's that hard. And that's the thing, especially when I was made aware of like our YouTube like beef, was like, nothing we're doing is difficult. You know why I know? Because I do it. Because if it was difficult, I wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah. It's just like, go in, do what you like to do it at a thing that makes, or at an intensity that makes you better, and just do it again tomorrow. Like, it's not that difficult. What's coming up? What do you got? You just, every day, you got podcasts now? Boys are back in the studio across the way.
Yeah, having redundant podcasts.
Is that just your whole life is talking on the internet?
No. It's been cool. It's just we're running out of guests, so we got to find some more guests, or we just get a lot more interesting. The three of us.
I'm just gonna crash one.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, just pop in.
Yeah,
we'll talk.
We'll turn into like the Merv Griffith show.
Yeah,
it'll just be like the Kramer setup in his apartment.
Exactly.
We'll just come in. I'll bring animals.
Yeah.
We'll just bring like a lizard or something. I'm just gonna tell people to bug you on social media. So we're do the whole thing where people go where to find.
I'm just on Instagram at Big Mike Van Wyck, and On TikTok, same thing. But I'm never on the TikToks. So I'm not even bother.
On the TikToks.
On the
If that
TikToks.
doesn't
There you go.
tell you how it not on the
I literally
TikToks.
just put a video up and I just leave it. And I'm like, whatever happens to that, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't even. It's like the new Snapchat for me. Or Vine. Was that
But
the
the
Vine?
one thing that is cool about like me being back on social media because I was literally off for like 6 years and then I came back because of like being here and like Antoine was the one who pushed me to do it. Really, it was like it's actually because I don't get much bullshit. Like people don't talk much shit to me.
I
So
wonder
but it's like cool to see like these kids or like not even kids, like adults too, who send you videos of them doing shit you do.
That's cool.
It's just like
You're
it
an
blows my
influencer.
mind because like someone sent me something from like fucking like Costa Rica the other day,
Crazy.
and I'm just like, how the fuck do you even know? Like, where did you even see it?
Yeah.
Like, I don't grasp that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I understand that like stuff goes out and it's in a feed and the algorithms and shit that pop stuff up to people, but it's like when they're like, yeah, man, I did your back workout, and I'm like, what? Like, first of all, which one? I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, and then like sometimes they're butchering it, so I'm like, oh fucking Christ! Like, I obviously didn't teach that well enough.
That's the worst tags where
You'll
like I
never
can't do
teach
this.
it good enough for the internet.
No,
to do it well.
that's what I've understood. Like, and I've tell this to people all the time. Like, there's a certain amount. Like, you guys could show someone something, or they could see a video of you're doing or my doing it, and like it's like almost like it's like broken telephone. It gets twisted. So like that's why there has to be this repetition of like I have to keep enforcing these cues, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because like you're only gonna pick up like 10%. Right, you're gonna remember those key points that made it easier for you to do it at that moment, but you're missing like the two other nuances or four other nuances that make it what it is, right? So like you might get the beginning right, and then it's like, oh, and you're like, no, man, that's not what it was.
Yeah.
But you can see like the mind is trying to get it right.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why like when you're saying like I'm present in the session and stuff, it's because like I really literally in my mind want to make like the movement perfect.
Yeah.
And it's a super selfish thing. Like it's like mentally for me, I need to see it.
Yeah.
So if I can't see it, it's like I'm failing, right? Like I want to be able to like, I'll manually move you.
Yeah.
Or like I'll do something, I'll turn your wrist or I'll push your shoulder down or whatever it is. I'll move your fucking head if I have to.
Yeah.
Just to get it, because it's like almost this OCD thing where like I have to see it happen.
Yeah, that's
Like,
fair.
I want to see that movement happen because once someone gets it, like I'm sure when you guys show someone something, once they get it, you're like, yeah.
That's it.
You're like, fuck, yes. And then like, do it. Like, I mean, you want to keep getting it, right? So it's like, that's the way I am with that shit. But it's like, you guys are showing like lifts that like are massive lifts, like a squat or like a fucking clean or whatever it might be, right? It's like, so it's like this one thing and they nailed it. It's like, I got 5 exercises.
Yeah.
I got a fucking, and like 5 sets and like all these reps. So it's like, I'm in there fucking sweating because I'm like, I can do it, man. Like, get the fucking rep. You know what I mean?
If you grabbed my head while we were training,
There's
I
a
would
picture of me grabbing Val's head and moving it like
That's
that.
so
It's
funny.
funny because there's literally a picture of me grabbing your head in Calgary.
Yeah.
We were like squatting in head position. I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think I would die. Well, dude, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Appreciate you
Next
having me.
podcast, we'll have the fan ready. Or you know what we should do? We should just have sponsored towels. We should just have. It should just be like a shtick.
Yeah.
Just like in the literal hot seat.
Yeah, or we just get somebody sponsored like a HVAC company or something.
If you're an HVAC company in the Burlington area and you want to actually do your job right, we got a contract for you. Well, dude, thanks so much. We'll put all the
thanks so
stuff in the
much.
show notes, and I'll see you in tomorrow because I see you every day.
See you in a few hours.
Awesome. Appreciate it.